What is it? Red leather, yellow leather?
Red leather, yellow leather, red, yellow leather, yellow, yeah, that one.
Great start. Hello, welcome to another Time to Talk Day video. My name is Jack, I'm the Digital Marketing Assistant here at Nicol Co. I'm joined by Molly, our Client Relationship Team Leader.
Hello.
We're going to spend another 30 minutes roundabout talking about our mental health. So for those who didn't watch last year's video, we're not going to sort of go through and recap everything, but the basic premise is for Time to Talk Day, today, February 3rd, it's to encourage conversations about mental health, whether it's with your family, your friends, your colleagues. So it's going to be quite freeform. We've got a couple of questions written down that we're going to read from as kind of a basic structure, but other than that, it's just going to be a chat between me and Mol. So how is your mental health now compared to last year?
I'd say much better.
Okay.
On a personal note, I think last year I rewatched the video that we made and I looked at myself and I could just see how internally quite sad that I was. I didn't actually, now when I look at myself then and I look at myself now, I actually don't recognise myself. It was like, I feel like I was just a shell of a person who I am today.
I think generally, kind of counterintuitively, I notice more things wrong with me now. Like I know more what my problems are and I'm more aware of what's going on. But mental health is generally better. I think I'm generally happier. I feel much more like myself, which I think is the main thing compared to last year, is much more knowing sort of who I am, what I like, what I am like, and just sort of accepting that, I think is the biggest difference between now and then for me. What are the biggest impacts between sort of why do you think you're better off now compared to sort of March or February 2021?
I think last year when I was sat here talking to yourself, I think I was trying to compare myself to how I was the year before that, instead of actually realising that within a year or every year you grow and you change and different things become priority. And now I just kind of accept that I'm not the same person who I was 2-3 years ago. I am the 25-year-old young adult who I am today. And that's more so kind of my motto now going forward, that every year I'm going to keep changing, keep growing, keep learning different things about the world and most importantly about myself, that it's okay to have change.
So you think like the biggest difference for you would be like a mindset change then? There's not necessarily been like a big event?
Yeah, definitely.
I think for me, like the biggest impacts would be a breakup. So I was in, and I was talked about it in the last video if anyone watched it, I was in a relationship at the time. That relationship ended, I want to say about a month and a half after that video came out. So that, along with also therapy, which is something I did as a result of coming out of that relationship, have been definitely the biggest changes for me in terms of sort of reevaluating how I feel about myself and, you know, that relationship at the time and all this other sort of stuff. So those kind of, I did sort of, I guess, have like an inciting moment to sort of get the year going for me and to change me around.
Isn't that funny? Because the last video that we did, I was sat in therapy and I said, oh, I have therapy every 2 weeks. But at that point in time, you were like, no, never have therapy, never talk to anybody else. What changed your mind or what made you realise, actually, I need to go and talk to somebody that isn't maybe family or friends?
Getting someone else to talk to, and it's also obviously something I've known you've done it, I've known other people who've sort of done it. It seemed like something very easy for me to do and say, this is helping. And I think I went into therapy with different expectations and different goals than I have now. My attitude towards it and what I want from therapy has changed, but I went in for the mindset of, I think, like, therapy was something I could do that, like, I think I wanted to go in and say, I want to come out and I don't want to be resentful, I don't want to be, you know, hateful or anything like that. I don't want to be bitter. I want to sort of just get on with my life, and that kind of was a tangible way I was sort of doing that. Like, this is something I can spend money on, an appointment I can have, and I will sort of get better. I didn't really understand what therapy was at the time, I guess. But
do you still go to it now, or?
Yeah, it's sort of quietened down just before, or a month or so before Christmas, because it was every week, every Thursday. Then now it's sort of gone down to once every 2 weeks, just because the stuff for me to talk about, a lot of the time was obviously spent talks about what happened with my ex and stuff that was in that relationship and what I got from that and what I need to sort of lose from that. There's just not so much of that to talk about anymore. The kind of stuff we talk about is, and the biggest thing, and what my therapist has always said, is that you're essentially being taught to solve your own problems, and that's something I feel like I can do now much better. So I don't know if that's the same with you. Like, I don't know how long ago you stopped going, but do you feel like you sort of retained?
Yeah, I think I stopped about midway through last year. I think I got to the point where I'd been given all the tools that I needed, and then was kind of not set free into the world, but kind of like, go and try it, see how you feel, put these techniques into place. If it's not working for any reason, don't let yourself get back to how you were 6 months ago. Come back and we'll kind of reevaluate it again. And I know if I was ever going to be feeling like I'm slipping back into how I was back at the start of 2021, I could just rebook in a new appointment, and kind of, it's almost like you just pick up from where you've left off. It doesn't matter that I've not attended a session for 6 months. You just pick back up, and it's just talking through what's happened, what's gone wrong, and how then to go forward again to make sure you don't slip back into kind of what I'd essentially call bad habits.
Yeah, I think that's exactly basically what my therapist has said to me. There were points where she sort of mentioned about me getting better, and sort of my anxious brain thought essentially I was getting dumped by my therapist. So I was like, no, I'm still troubled. But like, she sort of explained to me, she has clients that they're in therapy once a week. That's going to be them for the rest of their life. Some that do it once every month. Some that do it 6 months on, 6 months off, etc. Yeah, so it's kind of just, I think bad habits is the best way of sort of putting it.
So when you went to that first session, what were those expectations?
For me, what I wanted to do was, essentially I wanted to like just be like, okay, my relationship's over. Like, I don't want any bad blood with it. I don't want to be toxic in how I handle it in terms of, you know, checking up on people's Instagrams and all that sort of stuff. I wanted to be like, I just want to be done and I'm over it and I'm getting on with myself. That was initially what I was going in for, where I was like, you know, I don't really have to talk about much, like, oh, I know some of it wasn't great, but, you know, whatever, and sort of downplaying it. And then essentially the more I went to therapy and the more I sort of spoke to my therapist about it, the more I sort of realised that, like, oh, actually that wasn't all that good for me. You know, and I've sort of been maybe a bit too passive and a bit too flippant, disregarding sort of what I've been doing or what's been I've been sort of going through or whatever. But I don't know with you, what was you just sort of trying to, because you went in for depression, right?
Yeah.
What were you aiming for?
I think the main thing was to come out of the hole that I was in. Like, I felt like I was in a black hole and there was no escaping it. And my bedroom was my, like, safe place. And for me, leaving that bedroom was scary. Like, I'd get up and come to work every single day, but I knew I was safe at work. But when I come back home, it was straight back in my bedroom. And I wanted to become back the person who, not necessarily who I was before, but the characteristics I had before. So the confidence, the going out and enjoying myself and not feeling bad because I'm enjoying myself. You know, playing sport and smiling when I'm playing sport. You know, not playing sport because of the whole, oh, I need to keep fit and healthy. Or if I don't play, I'm not going to be in the starting 11 next week. Playing it because actually I've enjoyed playing it since I was 4 years old.
What were your low and high points of the past year since the last video?
Yeah, I think there was more high points last year than low, looking back on reflection. So things like, I think for me, finishing therapy and feeling good about myself, not having that, right, I need to go and talk to someone to help solve my problems. That was a really kind of like proud moment for myself. Actually, probably my proudest moment of last year, more so over any kind of achievement through work or sport. Was probably my proudest moment, was knowing that I can do this and I can do it on my own without having the need to have someone aid and guide me through. I think like the small little things, I think I learned to appreciate seeing my friends and family and not seeing them just because they are my friends and family, essentially. Seeing them because I want to spend time with them and putting my phone down, spent less time on social media. I think like if I looked back, actually, I probably only posted 9, 10 Instagram pictures last year, which is, for me, I know that sounds silly, but
I mean, that's like one a month, which is like not.
But
not a
for
lot
like,
at
if
all.
I compare that to previous years where I used to post one maybe once a week or once every couple of weeks, actually spending more time living in the present moment than watching it through a camera lens.
I'm really same as you in a lot of ways as well. There was definitely like some sort of big sort of standout moments for me, but generally sort of just reconnecting with people that because whilst it's a combination of sort of pandemic and just the relationship I was in that was kind of my social life. I didn't really see my friends at all until this year, and then sort of over summer I started like after work, me and my friend Ford would just take some guitars to the local park like teenagers and just sort of sit and play some Britney Spears covers and stuff, and that was really fun. Like just like hanging out and doing something like musical and creative was really cool. The work summer party was great as well.
That was such a good day.
I think the first time I've socialised with people from work, because I live sort of a bit outside of Worcester and stuff, so it never really happened, but that was good.
And how amazing was it just to have all staff members in one place? No Zoom, no phone, nothing. Just literally just at a local kind of village hall. All people's kids were there running around, like game around us. Like I love that day so much. I think that's a good high as well of last year.
That was a proud one for me as well, because one of the things I spoke to my therapist about was like so when I first started seeing, I was like, when I'm at work, I feel like I am a brain in a mech suit piloting my body around. To the sense that that's just how self-aware I felt. Like every movement I sort of made was all just not very natural, and I felt really uncomfortable and just sort of like on autopilot essentially. So that was really nice. But yeah, like there was just general sort of moments where I sort of do stuff and I think like, you know, I haven't done this enough, like hang out with friends and like, you know, have hot tub parties over the summer and stuff like that. It's just been, those have definitely been my highlights, was just being more social and being more outgoing. So what about lows? What do you think were the lowest points of 21?
Definitely the start of 2021. Like I said, watching that video back, I can see how sad I was. It's not a horrible thing to look at, but again, it gives you that sense of pride of how far you've come. But I was really depressed in January. And January can be a bad month anyway. It can, you know, you wake up, it's dark, you come home from work, it's dark, you can't do anything, it's cold. So that doesn't help, let alone facing kind of your demons as well inside. So that was a really low point. I think that was the lowest point I felt all year. But at the start of November, I broke my foot during a game. And when I did it, I didn't believe that I'd done it. Like, I was in denial. I was laying on the pitch in agony, foot had swollen, and I was in denial that I'd done it. I kept saying, no, I haven't broke it. No, I'm not going to hospital. Like, outright refusing. I hadn't done anything wrong. If I had my way, I would have continued to play that game. And then when I went to hospital and I had my x-ray and they told me I broke it, I burst out into tears. Like I felt like I'd let everyone down. My teammates, my managers. I remember I rang my dad and I was like, Dad, I've broke my foot. And his reply was, that's okay. And I remember I was just like, what do you mean that's okay? I was like, that's not okay. I was like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And actually in context, it's really not. It's so minor. It's a broken bone. It will heal. But to me, I just felt like my world had ended again, because I felt like I was in such a good place. I was playing really well. I'd had a really good, strong start to the season. And it just kind of, I felt like that was my step back. And it made me feel like I didn't want to go and watch the girls train. I didn't want to go and watch them play, because it created this sense of I'm missing out. I want to be in the starting 11. I want to be playing those 90 minutes. And I couldn't even put any weight on my foot. Like you saw, I was hobbling around on my crutches with my little boot on. I didn't feel good in anything I wear. And I know this sounds so silly, but like planning an outfit was the most difficult thing in the world, because I had to incorporate wearing a boot and one shoe of another kind.
It's funny, because I was usually, maybe February 2021 Jack might have disagreed with you, but this part of what I've done sort of the last year was, because of part of my breakup, I moved home, I had sort of a bit more money to spend. I started just redoing my wardrobe, basically buying new clothes, because I hadn't bought new clothes probably since 2 years pre-pandemic, so it was well overdue. And I remember feeling like once I sort of bought, like actually put effort into trying to like look nice and stuff, not even like a load of effort, but just so that I was dressing modern and not wearing stuff I have for years, I really was surprised how much it affected my mood, like dressing up and like, I know I look like all right, and I'd put effort in, and that's something I'd never really like considered before, so I can imagine it's quite difficult if you're hobbling around, you know. I think for me, like there was one sort of, it was probably not long after we filmed last video actually, not long before my sort of the breakup as well, where basically my girlfriend's not from the Midlands originally. She wanted to move back home. When she sort of told me about that, like I essentially had like a week-long panic attack. I was just constantly stressed out my mind. Really, really sort of hard to explain. Basically, just constantly highest on edge, just always fearful, just massively freaking out. And I didn't really know why. Like at the time, I didn't really understand why it was such a problem. But I think that was like a big sort of clue for me that I wasn't sort of happy in the relationship as well, and there were issues. Sort of later on in the year, one which seems kind of silly now, but I don't know if you remember. Do you remember my hamster Cujo?
I remember your hamster Cujo.
My hamster Cujo.
Yeah.
So I moved back home, sort of relationship ended. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy myself an emotional support hamster. Bless her, she was a great little hamster, real solid, loved looking after her. She died, as hamsters do. This is the second
Not after
hamster.
10 years, like
No, yes, it's the
mine.
second hamster I've met. Yeah, this hamster actually lived to a realistic time. But she died. I can't remember how many months I'd had her when she died. But that, and it's funny looking back now. I think just by nature of hamsters being hamsters. But like at the time, it was just this little thing that I was trying to do everything right for, and it was like my emotional support hamster, as I kept joking. And but that really, I think when she died, I think I realised sort of how difficult I'd actually taken it. I think. Like the breakup, I mean, before that, I was in therapy and I was seeing my friends more, so I was like, okay, distracted, working on it, doing stuff. So I didn't really feel it bother me too much in that sense, because there was always sort of something to be done about it. And then when my poor little hamster died, that just, like, I remember taking her up Clent Hills to bury her. And it was just tragic. I think I realised then, like, oh God, like this has really affected me more than I sort of thought it usually would. Yeah. I think a big thing for me is I can't really register what I'm feeling or necessarily why sometimes. Yeah. So I'll be quite caught off guard by it. But it's, but I think it was generally a good sign that I was like actually having a struggle. What mental health challenges are you facing currently?
I've gone back to training. 2 weeks in. I've played 45 minutes both games since being back. And it's that struggle of I'm not as fit as what I was 12 weeks ago, essentially. And again, I know that sounds so minor, and there is bigger things going on in the world. But for me, like, having a 12-week setback has been really difficult. Like, I had COVID for a week as well, which didn't help, which still isn't helping now. So I'm finding, like, when I'm playing just 45 minutes, I'm getting frustrated with myself because I am knackered after 45 minutes, as when usually I can be used to be playing like 75, 90 and being absolutely fine. And I'm very on edge. I'm on edge that I'm going to take a knock to my foot and be set back at 12 weeks. And every time I think about it, it just puts me in a really low mood. I'm finding it really hard to overcome this injury that I've had.
Yeah, I think for me, like the biggest ones I'm having at the minute is just dating. So, like, I've been really lucky this year, actually, to be fair, that I've like made friends with some people that I started off by like seeing. But a sort of a problem I've like frequently found like throughout the year is just I feel like I have a very strong sense of responsibility for other people's feelings, right? Like, I don't want to say something wrong, make them upset. If I feel like I have a chance of like shooting someone down, you know, for example, like that just makes me feel so anxious and uncomfortable. I really want to avoid doing that. So the hardest thing for me at the minute is like sort of going out and seeing people, and essentially trying to be comfortable with the fact that I might not like the person in that way. They might not like me in that way. There's no sort of commitment, you know. It's sort of the first time I've been out an adult dating people. And it's kind of hard to get to grips on that and take it like in stride. I find it really, really draining. Like having to speak to someone, sort of get to a point, and then suddenly feeling very, very, very scared of speaking to them because I don't want to upset them, or because they're making me feel stressed because I know something that my sort of brain doesn't cotton on to yet. Do you have any goals for your mental health?
Maintenance. I think I want to continue being in the same mindset I'm in now, which is glass half full, not glass half empty. So constantly seeing the positives in everything, no matter what's thrown my way, and you know, life is full of challenges essentially. I want to be able to respond to them better every single time. Is It's not going to be perfect, you know, and I am going to go, and the thing with mental health is it's not one of those things where you recover and you get better for the rest of your life. Something's going to come along and, you know, try and nudge you back down a little bit. But it's knowing now how I want to continue to keep responding to it. I don't want to be sat 2023 thinking, okay, well, I'm back in the position I am in 2021, Molly. I want to be even better, feel even stronger, feel like, again, it's improved. And that no matter what comes my way, that I'll know how to continue to respond to it.
I'd like to sort of redo or like kind of get rid of all the conditioning or what my expectations from kind of the last relationship, and just sort of get that out my system, because it's still, I was talking to a friend about it the other day, like it's still scarily relevant in terms of like...
It's fresh.
Yeah, and it's you know, part of what we talk about in therapy was like it's essentially bereavement. You know, you go through all the stages of grief because you've lost such sort of a big part of your life essentially, and it is really troubling, and it's hard to sort of get my head focused when someone I don't have any contact with, and I'm quite happy like with the life I've got now. Like it's still always there, and especially in terms of trying to date new people and it being difficult because I don't know like I don't know how much I'm meant to be responsible for their feelings, and I sort of overthink way too much and get too anxious and get like sort of panic attacks when I'm like sort of getting to a point with people and stuff like that. That's something I sort of want to get through. It's just kind of like, I think I've done really well to solidify what my sense of self is. Like I feel like I know who I am. So like I just kind of want to now be able to sort of get on with that, and like I don't think I'm going to sort of like conquer anxiety or anything like that. I'm pretty confident I'm always going to be a pretty stressed person. But just sort of manage it in ways I can sort of expect and get rid of that kind of paralysing feeling and inability to talk about sort of what happened, and inability to sort of talk about how I felt, and sort of get more of my voice out there. Okay,
I've got one more question to finally finish off.
Okay.
So if you could give yourself advice, so Jack, Feb 2021, of what you were going to be like in 12 months' time, what advice are you giving yourself?
I don't know. I don't know. I think I just sort of say, like, worry about yourself. Like, I'm not. I feel like I think I was doing something that I wasn't. Like in terms of meaning and like contribution. Yeah. And I don't think anyone loses anything from me at that point in time focusing on myself. Yeah. I feel like everything still ends up fine. So I think that's the advice, and go to therapy, like straight away. Go to therapy. The first
I hope
thing.
I inspired you. For that.
Probably. To be fair, the earlier I could possibly sort of get in start on decompressing, for lack of a better term, the better. So that's probably what I'd say. What about you?
Yeah. I think for me there is a way out. That's my most important advice to myself. Is there is a way out. If you want there to be, and it doesn't just happen overnight either. I think that's another thing I used to think when, you know, Feb 2021 Mole was, oh, it's going to have one day I'm going to wake up and it's all going to be fine. No, it's a process. Live for the process, and by the time a year's on, you're going to be in a much better place than what you were in a year ago. And I think as well, just enjoyment. I'd tell myself to go and enjoy myself more and not hold back, because, you know, I was only 24 once, I'm now 25, and I feel like I lost out on part of being 24 by being the reserved girl in my bedroom. Do you want me to finish it this year as you opened it?
What did we finish with?
We didn't, we cut out last year.
Did we just cut out?
Yeah.
What did you wish we had?
Just a thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
What am I saying? Just thank you.
You said you offered to finish it. All this is staying in.